Hey, good morning. Very early morning. I think I might burst some bubbles when I say that marriage isn't about striving to attain equality. And if that's the goal of your marriage or your partnership, then it's a failure before it ever begins. When striving for equality, one person is going to inevitably always end up believing that they gave 90% and the other person gave 10%. And the problem is that the other person also believes in a relationship that's seeking for equality, that they gave the 90% and the other person gave 10%. And that's about as unequal as it gets. And when you're looking to make all the percentages equal and all the numbers level off with each other, you're going to end up with disappointment and emptiness because life is just shitty when you're always trying to be equal to somebody else. Face it, you've been there before. Now, the real striving in marriage, in a relationship, really ought to be for giving everything you have, not just trying to be equal, in order to accomplish the very best that you are and the very best that you can be for each other. When two people are doing this together, there's no more keeping score. There's only a striving to accomplish constantly doing better. It isn't about what am I getting out of this marriage. It's about I wish I had even more to give. That's what a relationship looks like when it's not based on building equality and adding up the numbers. So marriage ought to be less about partnership and more about merger. That whole becoming one thing is what makes a marriage that's unbreakable and unshakable. And in our current society, and I think this is where a lot of our woes come from, where everyone needs to be out for themselves, out for number one, the focal point of happiness is what makes me feel happy, then there will never be true oneness. Because the goal is only self and what makes self feel better. And merger doesn't mean a loss of self. Au contraire, it means becoming two parts of one whole, giving yourself fully. When one loses ground, the other fills in. When both excel, both soar. Conversely, when both are down or have failures, there is still no loss of the one because they're already merged. And that's the goal, is to keep that merger intact. Emptiness is the inevitable end of partnership. And loneliness is the inevitable end of seeking equality. While fulfillment is the result of merging those things. Call me old-fashioned. I'm a child of the 70s. I grew up as a kid in the late 60s. But I grew up and came of age in the 70s. I graduated in 1978 from high school. That puts it in context. But there's still something to this whole marriage and relationship thing that people seem to be missing. And it's no wonder we have such a sad, broken society on so many fronts. So go out there. If you're in a relationship, don't seek equality. Don't seek partnership. Seek oneness, merger. And I'll bet you're going to have the best relationship you ever thought possible.